My husband stole $180,000 for my jealous stepsister. My parents blamed me. Until my daughters handed me a tablet and said, "Watch this, Mom." We handled it. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here with me today. Before I begin my story, I'd love to know which city you're joining us from. Please feel free to share in the comments. Now, let me take you into this story. My name is Meredith, and I thought I had the kind of life that was immune to catastrophe. I was wrong. Catastrophe doesn't knock, it kicks the door down. It started on a Tuesday morning, the kind that feels aggressively normal. The sun was filtering through the blinds of our suburban kitchen, casting stripes across the granite countertops I had spent years paying off. I was sipping my coffee, enjoying the rare silence before my 17-year-old twin daughters, Tessa and Riley, came thundering down for breakfast. It was the first of the month, which meant it was finance day. I've always been the one to handle the money in our marriage. My husband, Greg, preferred to spend it, while I preferred to count it, save it, and worry about it. I opened my laptop and logged into our bank portal. I went straight to the custodial accounts. The college fund. This was my pride and joy. For 17 years, I had skimped on vacations, dyed my own hair, and driven a car that rattled when it went over 40 miles per hour, all to ensure that my girls would graduate debt-free. I expected to see the number I had seen last month, $180,000 and some change. The page loaded. I blinked. I rubbed my eyes and leaned closer, assuming the Wi-Fi was glitching or the page hadn't rendered correctly. Balance, $0. My heart didn't just drop, it vanished. I felt a cold, physical wave of nausea wash over me, starting from my stomach and spreading to my fingertips. I hit refresh. $0. I hit it again, harder this time, as if brute force could bring the numbers back. $0. No, I whispered to the empty kitchen. No. I clicked on the transaction history. A withdrawal. A single, massive wire transfer initiated yesterday afternoon. The recipient wasn't a school. It wasn't an investment firm. It was a joint account at a different bank. The authorization signature was digital, but it was legally binding. It was Greg's. I grabbed my phone, my hands shaking so violently I almost dropped it. I dialed Greg. It went straight to voicemail. I dialed again. Voicemail. I texted him. The college fund is empty. Call me. Now. Nothing. Panic is a strange thing. It makes you hyper-aware of everything. The hum of the refrigerator sounded like a jet engine. The ticking of the clock was deafening. I felt like I was drowning in dry air. My husband, the man I had shared a bed with for 20 years, the father of my children, had wiped us out. Just then, I heard footsteps on the stairs. Tessa and Riley walked in, looking like typical teenagers, messy buns, oversized hoodies, phones in hand. "Morning, Mom," Tessa said, reaching for the cereal. I tried to compose myself. I tried to put on that brave mother face, the one that says everything is fine, but I couldn't. I must have looked like a ghost because Riley stopped mid-step. "Mom," she asked, her voice dropping an octave. "You're pale. What's wrong?" I opened my mouth, but no sound came out. I had to force the words through a throat that felt like it was closing up. "The money," I croaked. "The college fund. It's gone. Your father, he's not answering." I expected screams. I expected tears. I expected them to ask how they were going to Stanford and MIT now. I braced myself to catch them as they fell apart. But they didn't fall apart. Tessa and Riley exchanged a look. It wasn't a look of confusion. It was a look of confirmation. A silent communication that only twins seem to possess. "Mom, sit down," Tessa said, her voice eerily calm. She pulled a chair out for me. "You don't understand," I sobbed, finally letting the tears fall. "It's all of it. $180,000. He took it all." "We know," Riley said. She placed her tablet on the table in front of me. "And we know he didn't just take the money." "Mom, you need to see this before you try to call him again." "See what?" I wiped my eyes, confused by their lack of panic. Riley tapped the screen. It was a video file. "Greg is an idiot," she said flatly. He disconnected the dashcam in his truck, but he forgot to disconnect the cloud sync to the family iPad. The video started playing. It was the interior of Greg's truck. He was in the driver's seat. And sitting next to him, laughing that high-pitched, breathless laugh I knew so well, was a woman. She leaned over and kissed him, a long, passionate, possessive kiss. My stomach turned inside out. I knew that hair. I knew that laugh. I even knew the dress she was wearing because it was my dress that had gone missing from my closet 3 weeks ago. It was Valerie, my stepsister. The world didn't just tilt, it completely inverted. I stared at the screen, watching my husband's hand rest intimately on my stepsister's thigh. The betrayal wasn't singular, it was a double-edged sword twisting in my gut. Valerie. She wasn't my blood sister, but I had treated her better than blood. She was the daughter of my stepmother, Linda. When my father married Linda, Valerie came into my life like a hurricane of chaos and neediness. She was 11 years younger than me, the baby of the family, the golden child who could do no wrong, even when she did everything wrong. For decades, I had been her safety net. When Valerie maxed out her credit cards buying designer purses she couldn't afford, I was the one who loaned her money to pay the minimum so her credit score wouldn't tank. When she got evicted from her apartment for throwing loud parties, I was the one who let her stay in our guest room for 3 months, rent-free, cooking her meals while she complained that the Wi-Fi wasn't fast enough. "I just have bad luck, Meredith," she would say, widening those big, innocent doe eyes. "You're so lucky. You have Greg. You have a house. You have stability. It's not fair. I used to feel guilty for my stability. I used to think it was my duty to share my luck with her. Now, looking at the video, I realized it wasn't luck. It was hard work, and she had been envious of it every single second." I watched the video continue. Greg was smiling, a smile I hadn't seen directed at me in years. "Don't worry, babe." Greg's voice came through the tablet speakers, tinny but clear. "I initiated the transfer today. By Friday, we'll be in Florida. We can buy that condo on the beach. No more nagging, no more boring suburban life." "And the twins?" Valerie asked. She didn't sound concerned. She sounded like she was checking off a grocery list. "They're smart," Greg scoffed. "They'll get scholarships. Or Meredith can take out loans. She loves playing the martyr anyway. This is our time, Val. I've wasted 20 years. I deserve to be happy." "I love you, Greg," Valerie cooed, smoothing the fabric of my blue silk dress over her knees. "We're going to have so much fun." I paused the video. I couldn't watch anymore. The image of them together, plotting to steal my children's future to fund their beachside retirement, made me want to vomit. "He stole my dress," I whispered, the absurdity of the detail hitting me amidst the tragedy. "That's my blue silk dress. I thought I lost it at the dry cleaners." "He stole a lot more than a dress, Mom," Tessa said gently, placing a hand on my shoulder. I stood up, pacing the kitchen floor. The shock was starting to wear off, replaced by a cold, sharp fury. But underneath the fury, there was still a desperate, childish hope that this was a misunderstanding. Maybe my parents could stop this. My father. He was a stern man, but he valued honor. Surely, he wouldn't stand for this. Valerie was his stepdaughter, but I was his daughter. He would be furious. "I have to call Dad," I said, reaching for my phone again. "He needs to know what Valerie has done. He needs to talk sense into her." Riley looked at Tessa, then back at me. "Mom, I don't think that's a good idea." "No," I insisted, my fingers flying over the keypad. "They treat her like a princess, but this is a crime. This is grand larceny. They won't support this." I was so naive. I dialed my father's landline. My stepmother, Linda, answered on the second ring. "Hello, Meredith?" Linda's voice was cheerful, which felt like a slap in the face given that my world was burning. "Linda, put Dad on the phone," I said, my voice trembling. "And you need to listen too. It's about Valerie. And Greg." "Oh," Linda said, her tone instantly shifting from cheerful to guarded. "You know?" I froze. You know. "We were going to tell you." My father's voice came on the line from the extension. We told them they should be honest with you. Honest? I screamed. Dad, he emptied the college fund. He stole $180,000. He's running away with Valerie. I waited for the outrage. I waited for my father to roar, for Linda to gasp in horror. Instead, there was a heavy sigh on the other end of the line. Meredith, calm down, my father said. His voice wasn't angry at the thieves, it was annoyed with the victim. There's no need for histrionics. Histrionics? I gripped the phone so hard my knuckles turned white. Dad, did you hear me? They stole from your granddaughters. That money was for Tessa and Riley's education. It's Greg's money too, Linda chimed in, her voice dripping with that sickeningly sweet poison she always used when she was defending her daughter. He worked for it, didn't he? Technically, it's marital assets. It was in a custodial account. I yelled. It's morally bankrupt. He's running off with your daughter. My sister. Stepsister, Linda corrected automatically. And, honestly, Meredith, you have to look at this from their perspective. Valerie has had such a hard life. She's never found true love. She's never had financial security. You've had 20 years of a stable marriage. You have a house. You have a career. Don't you think it's time Valerie had a turn at happiness? I felt like I had been punched in the throat. I couldn't breathe. A turn? You're talking about my husband like he's a toy on a playground. He's married to me. A marriage that has obviously been failing for a long time, my father said gruffly. Greg called us last week. He told us how unhappy he is. He said you're distant, cold, always focused on the money, never on him. A man has needs, Meredith. If you couldn't satisfy them, you can't blame him for looking elsewhere. And it just happened to be Valerie, I whispered, tears streaming down my face. And you condone this? We want our children to be happy, Linda said. Both of them. Look, Meredith, you're strong. You're the capable one. You'll figure it out. You can get a loan for the girls. Or maybe they can work their way through school. It builds character. But Valerie, she needs Greg. She needs this fresh start. If you truly love your sister, you'll let them go without a fight. Don't make this ugly. Don't drag the family through a messy divorce court. So I should just let them take the money? I asked, my voice dangerously quiet. Consider it a severance package, my father said. Or a wedding gift. Just let them be happy, Meredith. Stop being so selfish. Selfish. The word hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. For 46 years, I had done everything right. I got good grades so I wouldn't burden them. I paid for my own wedding. I hosted every Thanksgiving. I loaned Valerie money I never asked back. I was the good daughter, the responsible one. And here they were, telling me that my husband stealing my life savings to run away with their golden child was my fault, and that objecting to it was selfish. Something inside me snapped. It wasn't a loud snap. It was the quiet, irreversible sound of a bridge burning. I see, I said. Thank you for clarifying where we stand, Dad. Linda. We just want peace, Linda said. You won't get peace, I said. You'll get exactly what you deserve. I hung up the phone before they could respond. I stood there, staring at the wall, feeling entirely hollowed out. My family wasn't just dysfunctional, they were complicit. I was alone. They knew, I said to the girls, who were watching me with intense, sorrowful eyes. They knew, and they think I should let him keep the money because Valerie needs it. Tessa stood up and walked over to me. She took my hand. You're not alone, Mom. We expected them to say that, Riley added. Grandma Linda has been poisoning the well for years. But Mom, you need to stop crying now. Crying is for people who don't have a plan. I looked at my daughters. They were 17, on the cusp of adulthood, and they looked fierce. They didn't look like victims. A plan? I sniffed, wiping my face with my sleeve. We didn't just find that video, Riley said, a small, dangerous smile playing on her lips. We found everything. We've been watching him for 3 months. 3 months. I gasped. We wanted to be sure, Tessa said. And we wanted to make sure that when we dropped the hammer, he wouldn't be able to get back up. Before I could listen to my daughter's plan, I had to process the reality of the man I had married. I sat down at the kitchen table, the silence of the house pressing in on me. Greg. I thought back over the last 8 months. The signs had been there, blazing like neon lights in the night, but I had chosen to close my eyes. I had called it stress. I had called it work pressure. It started with the gym. Greg had never been a fitness enthusiast. He was a meat and potatoes man who liked his recliner. But suddenly, he was going to the gym 5 nights a week. He lost 20 pounds. He started buying protein shakes and testosterone supplements. Then came the wardrobe. The comfortable polos were replaced by tight-fitting shirts that were 2 decades too young for him. He dyed his hair, covering the gray that I thought made him look distinguished. Then, the criticism started. It was subtle at first. A comment about my cooking being bland. A sigh when I put on my sweatpants after work. You used to try harder, he had said one night over dinner, poking at his lasagna. You've let yourself go, Meredith. You're so settled. It's boring. I'm working 50 hours a week, Greg, I had replied, tired to my bones. I'm paying the mortgage. I'm managing the house. I don't have time to be exciting. Valerie is exciting, he had muttered. I thought I had misheard him. I thought he was just comparing me to her free-spirited, irresponsible lifestyle. I didn't realize he was comparing me to his lover. He started guarding his phone like it was the nuclear codes. He changed his passcode. He took calls in the garage. Work emergencies, he claimed. He was a mid-level manager at a logistics firm. There were no emergencies that required whispering in the garage at 11 p.m. And the money. I should have noticed the slow bleed. The savings account had been dipping. $500 here, $200 there. Car repairs, he said. Client dinners, he lied. He was funding their courtship with our retirement. I realized now that he had been planning this exit strategy for a long time. He wanted the Florida dream, the condo, the boat, the eternal sunshine. But he couldn't afford it on his salary. He needed a nest egg. And since he hadn't saved one, he decided to steal ours. He looked at me and saw a checkbook. He looked at Valerie and saw a second youth. He was willing to burn his own children's future to feel like a 25-year-old stud again. The cruelty of it was breathtaking. He wasn't just leaving, he was salting the earth so nothing could grow behind him. He called me old, I said aloud, the memory surfacing. Last month. He told me I was acting old. He's projecting, Tessa said, sitting across from me. He's terrified of aging, Mom. That's why he's with Valerie. She acts like a teenager, so she makes him feel like one. He thinks he's going to Florida, I said, anger finally overtaking the sorrow. He thinks he's going to lie on a beach with my sister and spend your tuition money on margaritas. That's the plan, Riley said, typing away on her laptop. He put a deposit down on a condo in Tampa 3 days ago. Non-refundable. And he submitted his resignation letter to his boss, Mr. Henderson, effective this Friday. He quit his job? I asked, stunned. He thinks he doesn't need it, Riley said. He thinks he has $180,000 to blow. How do you know all this? I looked at my daughter, really looked at her. Riley was the quiet one, the one who spent hours in her room with her computer towers and coding manuals. I always told her to go outside more. I suddenly regretted every time I had interrupted her screen time. Riley turned the laptop around. Because, Mom, Dad is not a smart man. He uses the same password for his email, his bank, his Facebook, and his cloud account. What is it? I asked. Riley grimaced. You don't want to know. Tell me. It used to be Meredith 123, Riley said. But 3 months ago, he changed it. It's Valerie Forever 69. I felt bile rise in my throat. It was so juvenile, so grotesque. Okay, I said, taking a deep breath. He's trash. We've established that. But trash is currently holding all our assets. How do we get it back? Riley cracked her knuckles. We don't just get it back, Mom. We make sure he never wants to touch a cent of anyone else's money again. We have a plan. We call it Project Karma. Project Karma? I asked, looking between my 2 daughters. We've been building a case, Tessa explained, her voice steady and professional, sounding more like a lawyer than a high school senior. Riley handled the digital footprint. I handled the psychological profile and physical evidence. Physical evidence? Tessa reached into her backpack and pulled out a manila envelope. Receipts. Hotel bookings. Jewelry purchases. He wasn't just spending cash. He was using the company credit card for some of it, Mom. Mixing personal affairs with business expenses. My eyes widened. That's embezzlement. Or at least misappropriation of funds. Exactly, Tessa said. Mr. Henderson is a stickler for rules. If he knew Greg was using the company card to buy Victoria's Secret lingerie for his sister-in-law, Dad wouldn't just be resigning. He'd be fired for cause. Maybe even prosecuted. But that's just the leverage for his job, Riley interrupted. The money is the main priority. Mom, Dad thinks he's slick because he moved the money to a new account at a different bank. But he opened that account online. So Riley smirked. He used his personal email to set it up. The email I have the password to. I can see the account. I can see the routing number. I can see the login credentials because he saved them in his browser's keychain. Can you move it back? I asked, hope fluttering in my chest. Technically? Yes, Riley said. But if I just move it back now, he'll notice. He'll call the bank, claim fraud, and freeze everything. We need to distract him. We need him so overwhelmed, so panicked, that he doesn't look at his bank balance until it's too late. And how do we do that? I asked. We destroy his fantasy, Riley said. We destroy the one thing he's blowing up his life for, his relationship with Valerie. But they're in love, I said bitterly. Or at least, he's obsessed with her. He's obsessed, Riley corrected. She is. Opportunistic. Riley minimized the bank window and opened a new folder labeled Dirt. Mom, Valerie isn't just cheating with Dad. She's cheating on Dad. I blinked. What? Valerie has a type, Tessa said. And her type isn't middle-aged logistics manager with a beer belly. Her type is young, dumb, and fun. Dad is just the wallet. She has a boyfriend. A boyfriend. My jaw dropped. His name is Derek, Riley said, pulling up a photo. Derek was a 20-something gym rat with tattoos and a jawline that could cut glass. He's 25. He's a personal trainer who doesn't seem to have any clients. Valerie has been seeing him for 6 months. Basically the whole time she's been seeing Dad. How? Social media is a beautiful thing if you know where to look, Riley said. Valerie has a private Instagram account under the name Val_Vixen. She blocked you and Dad, obviously. But she didn't block her friends. I created a fake profile, a rich, bored housewife named Sugar_Mama_Beverly, and requested to follow her. She accepted immediately because she wants to be an influencer. Riley clicked on a chat log. Read this. I leaned in. It was a DM conversation between Valerie and Derek. Val_Vixen. Just hang tight, babe. The old fool is moving the money this week. Once we get to Florida and I get my name on the deed, I'll find a way to kick him out. Then you fly down and we party. Derek_Fit. Make sure you get the cash, Val. I'm tired of waiting. This guy sounds gross. Val_Vixen. He is. He's so clingy. Ugh. But 200K covers a lot of gross. Love you, baby. I read the messages twice. A laugh bubbled up in my throat, a harsh, jagged sound. He's leaving me for a woman who calls him a gross old fool and plans to dump him as soon as the check clears. Yep, Riley said. And he has no idea. So, Tessa said, leaning forward. Here's the plan. We initiate a 3-pronged attack. Phase 1, we let Derek know that Valerie is actually moving away with her sugar daddy permanently, making him jealous. Phase 2, we let Dad know that his true love is actually using him as an ATM for a younger man. Phase 3, while they are tearing each other apart, Riley goes into the system and repatriates our money. I looked at the screen. I looked at the evidence. I looked at the sheer brilliance of my children. They weren't just reacting, they were orchestrating a symphony of justice. And what about the house? I asked. He thinks he can force me to sell it to give him half the equity. He can't, I said, remembering something crucial. My mother left this house to me. Not us. Me. The deed is in my name. Inheritance is separate property in this state, as long as I never commingled it. Did you? Tessa asked sharply. No, I said, sitting up straighter. I paid the property taxes from my inheritance account. I never let him put his name on the title because my father, ironically, told me to protect my assets when we first got married. He didn't trust Greg back then. Irony is dead, Riley muttered. So, I said, feeling a surge of adrenaline. We have the house. We have the evidence of embezzlement. We have the proof that Valerie is scamming him. And we have the keys to the bank vault. We just need to execute, Tessa said. Tomorrow is Wednesday. That's when the chaos starts. Wait, Riley said, looking at me. Mom, there's one more thing. To make phase 1 work, I need to do something a little unethical. I need to catfish Derek. I need to make him think that I am the one who knows everything. Do it, I said without hesitation. Burn it all down. The rest of Tuesday was a blur of preparation. I called in sick to work, the first time in 5 years. I spent the afternoon with Sarah, my best friend from college who happens to be a shark of a divorce attorney. When I told Sarah the story, she didn't gasp. She just started taking notes. Okay, Meredith, Sarah said, her pen flying across the legal pad. We have a strong case for dissipation of marital assets. The fact that he transferred the college fund, which is technically for the benefit of the children, is a huge no-no. Judges hate that. But getting the money back through the courts takes months. If Riley can get it back, let's just say possession is 9/10 of the law. If the money is back in an account he can't touch before I file the emergency freeze order, we win. Can he sue me for taking it back? I asked. He stole it first. Sarah laughed. He can try. But he'll have to explain to a judge why he emptied a custodial account to run off with his sister-in-law. No, Meredith. You get that money. I'll draft the divorce petition, the restraining order, and the eviction notice for the house. You serve him the moment he walks back through that door. I went home feeling armored. I was no longer the weeping wife in the kitchen. I was a general preparing for war. That evening, the house was quiet. Greg didn't come home. He texted me at 8 p.m., working late. Big project. Don't wait up. Big project named Valerie, I muttered, showing the text to the girls. Perfect, Riley said. He's at her apartment. That means they are together. That makes the timing even better. Riley sat on the couch with her laptop. Okay, Mom. I'm logging into the sugarmama_Beverly account. I'm going to slide into Derek's DMs. What are you going to say? I'm going to send him a tip, Riley said. Watch. I watched over her shoulder as she typed. Sugarmama_Beverly, hey handsome. Hate to see a cute guy get played. You know your girl Val is leaving town on Friday, right? Permanently. Derek_fit. LOL, who is this? She's visiting her mom. Sugarmama_Beverly, honey, she bought a condo in Tampa with her old man. She showed me the deed. She's taking the $200K and running. She told me she's dumping the dead weight, and I think she meant you too. Derek_fit, you're lying. Sugarmama_Beverly, am I? Ask her why she bought a one-way ticket for Friday morning. Ask her why she's ignoring you tonight. Riley hit send. Now we wait. It took 3 minutes. Derek_fit, where did you see the ticket? Sugarmama_Beverly, image attachment. Riley had photoshopped a screenshot of a flight confirmation with Valerie's name on it. It looked incredibly real. He's typing. Riley whispered. He's typing, stopped, typing again. Derek_fit, that beat CH, asterisk, hook, line, and sinker, Riley grinned. Now he's going to call her. Or worse, show up at her place. And if Greg is there. Tessa said, imagining the scene. Exactly, Riley said. But we need to make sure Greg feels the heat too. Tessa, are you ready for tomorrow morning? Tessa nodded. She held up the envelope of receipts. I have a school project to drop off near Mr. Henderson's office. I know exactly where he gets his morning coffee. I looked at my daughters. I felt a pang of guilt that they had to be involved in this ugliness, but it was outweighed by a massive surge of pride. They were fighting for their survival. "You girls are terrifying," I said lovingly. "We learned from the best," Tessa said. "You kept this family running for 20 years, Mom. You just needed a wake-up call." My phone pinged. It was a notification from our home security system. The front door camera. "He's here," I whispered. "No," I checked the feed. "It's a delivery?" I went to the door. On the porch was a large bouquet of flowers. Red roses. I opened the card. "Meredith, I know things have been tense. I'm sorry I've been working so much. Let's talk this weekend. Maybe go out for a nice dinner? Love, Greg." I stared at the flowers. "He's trying to keep you calm," Riley said from the living room. "He wants to keep you sedated until Friday so you don't check the accounts." "He bought these with the money he stole from us," I said, my voice cold. I took the flowers, walked to the trash can in the garage, and dumped them in. "Game on, Greg," I whispered. Wednesday morning arrived with a gray, ominous sky. It matched my mood perfectly. Greg had come home late the night before, creeping into the guest room so he wouldn't disturb me. Coward. He left for work early, whistling as he walked to his truck. He thought he was free. He thought he had pulled off the perfect heist. He had no idea that he was walking into a minefield. I sat at the kitchen table, Sarah's legal documents spread out before me. The petition for dissolution of marriage. The emergency motion for return of assets. The kick-out order. I signed them all. My hand didn't shake this time. "Okay," I said to the empty room. Phase 1 starts now. At 9 a.m., Tessa texted me, "Package delivered. Mr. Henderson is reading the receipts in the break room right now." I told him I found them in Dad's home office and thought they were company documents he needed. I smiled. Mr. Henderson was a man of old-school integrity. He treated the company money like it was his own. Finding out that Greg had charged a $500 spa day for Valerie to the client entertainment budget was going to cause a nuclear explosion. At 9:30 a.m., Riley gave me the signal from her bedroom, where she was sick from school today. "Derek is on the move," she called out. He posted a story on Snapchat. "He's driving to Valerie's apartment complex. He looks furious." And Greg's GPS shows he's still at the office. But not for long, I bet. Everything was in motion. I felt a strange sense of detachment. It was like watching a car crash in slow motion, knowing I was the one who had cut the brake lines. My phone rang. It was Greg. I stared at the screen. "Hubby calling." I let it ring. He called again. And again. Finally, I picked up. "Hello, Meredith." Greg's voice was breathless, panicked. "Listen, I have a family emergency. My mom, she fell. I have to go to the hospital." Liar. His mother lived in Ohio and was perfectly fine. I had seen her Facebook post about her garden 10 minutes ago. "Oh no," I said, my voice flat. "Is she okay?" "I don't know, I just have to go. I might be late tonight." "Don't wait up." He hung up. "He's running," I yelled to Riley. "He just left work." He lied about his mom. "Mr. Henderson probably just confronted him," Riley shouted back. "Or he's firing him right now and Dad is fleeing the scene." "Riley, get ready," I said. "He's going to Valerie's. If Derek is there, that's when the distraction happens." "I'm logged in," Riley said, her fingers hovering over the keyboard. "I see the account. The money is still there. $230,000 total." He combined it with the savings. "Wait for the signal," I said. "We need him to be so distracted he doesn't see the notification on his phone." We waited. 10 minutes. 20 minutes. Then Riley's phone buzzed. She looked at the screen and gasped. "Oh my God. Mom, you have to see this. Derek is live streaming." "What?" "Derek. He's live streaming on Instagram. He's standing outside Valerie's apartment door, and he's screaming." I rushed to the living room. Riley cast her phone to the TV. On the screen, a shaky video showed Valerie's front door. We could hear Derek's voice, raw with rage. "You think you can play me, Val? You think you can take my money and run off with Grandpa?" The door opened. Valerie stood there, wearing a silk robe, looking terrified. Derek, keep your voice down. What are you doing? Where's the money, Val? Derek shoved past her into the apartment. And then, in the background of the video, we heard another car screech to a halt. That's Dad's truck, Tessa said, walking into the room. She had just gotten back from her mission. He's there. The live stream was chaotic. The camera swung wildly as Derek stormed into Valerie's living room. But then, the angle settled, propped up against something, giving us a perfect view of the disaster unfolding. Greg burst through the door, his tie askew, sweat dripping down his face. He had clearly just been fired or fled his office. He looked frantic, searching for comfort from his true love. Instead, he walked into a war zone. Who the hell is this? Greg shouted, pointing at Derek. I'm the guy she's been sleeping with for 6 months, Grandpa. Derek yelled back, flexing his tattooed arms. Who are you? The wallet. Greg froze. He looked at Valerie. Val? Who is he? Valerie was hyperventilating. Greg, baby, he's lying. He's just a stalker. A fan from Instagram. A fan? Derek laughed, a cruel, barking sound. He pulled out his phone. Is a fan the one you sent these nudes to last night? Is a fan the one you told that you were just waiting for the old fool to transfer the cash so you could dump him? Derek shoved his phone in Greg's face. We watched on our TV screen as Greg read the messages, the very messages Riley had intercepted. We saw the color drain from his face. He looked like he was having a stroke. You said I was a walking ATM? Greg whispered, his voice trembling so much the microphone barely picked it up. Greg, don't listen to him. Valerie screeched, grabbing his arm. Greg shoved her off. I left my wife for you. I just lost my job for you. My boss found the receipts. I'm ruined. You lost your job? Valerie's face instantly changed. The fear vanished, replaced by cold calculation. So, you don't have a salary? I have the cash. Greg yelled. The $230,000. It's in the account. Then give it to me. Valerie demanded. We can still go. Derek, get out. No, Derek shouted. She promised me half. It was a three-way standoff of greed and stupidity. They were screaming, pointing fingers, confessing to crimes and betrayals, completely unaware that thousands of people, Derek's followers, were watching. Now, Riley. I shouted. Do it now. While they are fighting. Riley didn't hesitate. She hit the enter key. Transfer initiated. We watched the progress bar on Riley's laptop. 25%. 50%. On the TV screen, Greg was pulling out his phone. I'll prove it. I have the money right here. I'm rich, Val. I don't need the job. 75%. Greg was fumbling with his banking app. His hands were shaking so badly, he kept hitting the wrong passcode. Come on, I whispered, gripping the back of the sofa. My heart was pounding in my ears like a war drum. This was it. 17 years of savings. My daughter's future. It all came down to internet speed. 90%. Greg finally got the app open. He stared at the screen. Transfer complete. On the TV, Greg's face went blank. He tapped the screen. He refreshed it. Where is it? He whispered. Where is what? Valerie snapped. The money. Greg let out a sound that was half scream, half sob. It's gone. It says 0. Balance 0. What did you do with it? Derek yelled, grabbing Greg by the collar. I didn't touch it. Greg screamed, his eyes bulging. It just vanished. It was there this morning. Riley leaned back in her chair, a satisfied smirk on her face. Transaction approved. The money is in the new trust account, Mom. It's safe. I looked at the TV, where my husband, my stepsister, and her boy toy were now physically shoving each other, their lives imploding in real time. I felt a rush of adrenaline so potent it made me dizzy. I looked at my daughters. They had saved us. My heart is racing just retelling this. I know you were on the edge of your seat because I was too. We had the money back, but the war wasn't over. Greg was about to realize who had taken it, and he was coming home. If you are still listening to this, please help me out. Like this video and comment the number 1 down below. Let me know that you are amazing and that you are standing with me on this journey. Your support is a huge encouragement to me. Please comment number 1 so I can recognize you, and now listen as I tell you what happened when Greg stormed through my front door. The silence in my living room was heavy, broken only by the chaotic sounds coming from the TV screen where Derek's live stream was still running. It was a train wreck and I couldn't look away. On screen, Greg was frantically tapping his phone, his face a mask of sheer terror. "It's a glitch," he screamed, his voice cracking. "It has to be a glitch. The bank app is crashing." "A glitch doesn't transfer $230,000 down to the cent, Greg," Valerie shrieked. She looked disheveled, her silk robe slipping off her shoulder, revealing the desperation of a woman who just realized her winning lottery ticket was void. "You said you had it. You promised me." "I did. I do." Greg was sweating profusely. "I'll call them. I'll call the bank right now." We watched as he put the phone to his ear. The livestream comments were flying by on the side of the screen. "Oh, Grandpa got played. Where the money at though? This is better than Netflix." Derek, the cameraman of this disaster, was laughing. It was a cruel, hyena-like sound. "Bro, you got robbed. Or maybe you never had it. You were just trying to impress Val, right?" "Shut up," Greg yelled at the phone. Then his face went white. He had clearly gotten through to a bank representative. "Hello? Yes, this is Greg. Yes, I'm the account holder. My balance is 0. I need to report fraud. Someone hacked me." I leaned forward. Riley was typing furiously on her laptop, monitoring the bank's security alerts. "He's trying to freeze it," she whispered. "But he can't. Look." On the TV, Greg stopped talking. He listened. His mouth opened and closed like a fish on a dock. "What do you mean, authorized transfer?" Greg shouted. "I didn't authorize it." Who authorized it?" He listened again. And then I saw the exact moment his soul left his body. "Meredith," he whispered. Valerie froze. "Meredith? Your wife?" "She took it. She's an authorized administrator on the custodial trust," Greg stammered, repeating what the bank teller must have been explaining. "She moved it. All of it. To a secure trust." "You idiot." Valerie lunged at him, her perfectly manicured nails clawing at his chest. "You said she was stupid. You said she never checked the accounts. You said she was boring and passive." "She is." Greg tried to fend her off. "I don't know how she knew." Derek stepped out from behind the camera, turning the phone so it faced all 3 of them like a selfie. "So, let me get this straight," Derek sneered. "Grandpa here is broke. He lost his job. And his wife took all the cash back." Derek looked at Valerie. "We're done, Val. I'm not sticking around for the poverty tour." "Derek, wait," Valerie begged, grabbing his arm. "We can sue her. We can get it back." "Nah," Derek shook her off. "I don't do drama with broke people. And honestly, you look old in this lighting." Derek ended the live stream. The TV screen went black. In my living room, the silence returned. But this time, it wasn't heavy. It was electric. "He knows," Tessa said, her voice steady. "He knows you took it. He's coming here." "Let him come," I said. I stood up and walked to the front door. I checked the lock. It was solid. I've spent 20 years being the peacemaker, the fixer, the one who smoothed things over so Greg wouldn't get upset. Tonight, I'm not fixing anything. "Mom," Riley said, looking up from her screen. "GPS update. He's in his truck. He's doing 80 in a 45 zone. He'll be here in 12 minutes. "Good," I said. "That gives us time to set the stage." I turned to my daughters. "Go upstairs. Pack a bag, just in case things get volatile and we need to leave. But stay in your rooms until I call you." "No," Tessa said firmly. She crossed her arms, looking so much like her father used to look before he became a stranger. "We aren't leaving you down here alone with him. He's desperate, Mom. Desperate men are dangerous." "We stay," Riley added. "Besides, I have the audio recording of Valerie trash-talking Grandma and Grandpa. You're going to need that." "Grandma and Grandpa?" I frowned. Why? Because Riley sighed, turning her phone screen toward me. Valerie just texted Grandma Linda. Meredith stole everything. She ruined my life. Help me. My stomach dropped. Of course. The flying monkeys were being summoned. They're coming too? I asked. They live 10 minutes away, Tessa said. It's going to be a full house. I took a deep breath. My husband, my Mr. Stepsister's parents, and my anger were all converging on my living room. Okay, I said, smoothing my shirt. Put the kettle on. If they want a show, let's give them a finale. 12 minutes is a long time when you are waiting for a hurricane. I spent the time sitting in my favorite armchair, the one Greg hated because it was too floral, facing the front door. It felt like a throne. I wasn't hiding in the kitchen. I wasn't crying in the bedroom. I was front and center. Tessa and Riley sat on the sofa to my left, their laptops closed but ready. They looked like my Praetorian Guard. At 10:47 p.m., headlights swept across the front window, blindingly bright. Tires screeched on the driveway. A car door slammed with enough force to shake the frame of the house. The key turned in the lock. The door flew open. Greg stood there. He looked like a man who had been through a natural disaster. His expensive shirt, bought with my money, was torn at the collar. His face was a blotchy map of red rage and white fear. He was panting heavily. He saw me immediately. He didn't say hello. He didn't apologize. He roared. Where is it? His voice boomed through the entryway, bouncing off the walls of the home I had maintained for 2 decades. Where is what, Greg? I asked calmly. My voice was steady, surprising even me. Your dignity? Your job? Your mistress. He stormed into the living room, kicking off his shoes in a habit he couldn't break even in a crisis. Don't play cute with me, Meredith. The money. The $230,000. Put it back. No. I can't put it back, I said. It's in a trust. It's protected. Unlike our marriage. That is my money, he screamed, pointing a finger in my face. Veins bulged in his neck. I earned it. I worked for it. You stole it, I corrected him. You stole $180,000 from a custodial account belonging to your daughters. That is a federal crime, Greg. Wire fraud. Theft. Embezzlement. I was borrowing it, he lied, his eyes darting around the room as if searching for a weapon or an exit. I was going to pay it back. I had an investment opportunity in Florida. An investment named Valerie? Tessa spoke up. Her voice was ice cold. Greg whipped his head around, noticing the twins for the first time. You. He narrowed his eyes at Riley. You did this. You hacked me. I know you did. Meredith doesn't know how to use online banking. I learned, I said, standing up to block his path to the girls. And for the record, using your mistress's name as your password isn't exactly high security, Greg. You have ruined everything. Greg collapsed onto the ottoman, putting his head in his hands. It was a sudden, jarring shift from rage to self-pity. My boss, Henderson, fired me. He said he is proof I was using the company card. Did you send that? Did you ruin my career too? You ruined your career when you bought lingerie for my sister on the corporate Amex, I said. Tessa just returned the receipts you lost. Greg looked up, tears streaming down his face. Meredith, please. You have to fix this. Valerie, she kicked me out. She said if I don't get the money by tomorrow, she's done. She's pregnant, Meredith. She's carrying my child. I felt a sharp pain in my chest, but it passed quickly. She's not pregnant, Greg. She's entering menopause, just like the rest of us. And even if she were, that's not my problem. She needs that money. Greg begged, reaching for my hand. I pulled away as if he were radioactive. We can work this out. Just give me half. Keep the house. Keep the girls' fund. Just give me the $50,000 from our savings so I can start over. Please. I have nowhere to go. No, I said. What? No. You don't get a severance package for destroying our family. Before Greg could explode again, another set of headlights flashed through the window. Then another car door slam. Then the sound of aggressive knocking. Oh good, Riley muttered. The circus is here. The door opened without a key because Greg had left it unlocked in his fury. My father and Linda marched in. They were dressed in their pajamas with coats thrown over them, looking like avenging angels of mediocrity. Meredith. Linda shrieked, spotting Greg crying on the ottoman. What have you done to him? Look at him. You monster. My father pointed his cane at me. Give him the money, Meredith. We know you took it. Valerie called us in hysterics. She said you hacked her accounts and stole her future. Her future. I laughed, a sound that lacked any humor. You mean the future she was stealing from your granddaughters? Valerie is fragile. Linda yelled, rushing to comfort Greg, patting his back. She has anxiety. She can't handle the stress. You are the older sister. You are supposed to take care of her. I am done taking care of her, I said, facing my parents. And I am done taking care of you. You are a selfish, bitter woman, my father spat. Just because your husband fell in love with someone younger and more vibrant, you want to destroy them both. It's jealousy. Pure and simple. Jealousy. I looked at the three of them, my cheating husband, my enabling father, my wicked stepmother. You think I'm jealous? Prove you aren't, Linda sneered. Transfer the money back to Greg. Let him go to Valerie. Be the bigger person. I have something better than money, I said. I have the truth. I nodded at Riley. Play it. Riley didn't hesitate. She had connected her laptop to the Bluetooth soundbar under the TV. The sound quality was crisp, filling the living room with the one voice everyone in the room claimed to love. Valerie's voice. Is that? Linda paused, looking confused. Just listen, I said. Recording starts. Valerie. Ugh, finally he left. I thought he'd never shut up about his investment portfolio. Derek, male voice, the old guy? Greg. Valerie, yeah. He's so pathetic, Derek. He actually thinks I'm attracted to him. Have you seen him? He smells like icy hot and desperation. It makes me want to puke every time he touches me. Greg's head snapped up. His eyes were wide, red-rimmed, and confused. What? When was this? 2 days ago, Riley answered. Keep listening. Derek, so why are you doing it, babe? Just ditch him. Valerie, I need the cash, idiot. He's liquidating the twins' college fund. $180,000. Plus his savings. Once that hits the joint account in Florida, I'm putting my name on the deed, transferring the cash to an offshore shell, and kicking him to the curb. He can go live in a swamp for all I care. In the living room, the silence was deafening. Linda's hand froze on Greg's back. My father's jaw dropped. Derek, what about his wife? Your sister. Valerie, laughing, Meredith? Please. She's a doormat. She's been cleaning up my messes since I was 12. She'll probably cry for a week and then send me a Christmas card. She's obsessed with being the good one. It's pathetic. Derek, and your parents? Linda and Bob. Valerie, oh God, don't get me started. They are so annoying. Mom calls me 5 times a day. But they're useful. They always take my side. I just cry a little, say Meredith is being mean, and they attack her. It's hilarious. They're like my little attack dogs. Once I get the money, I'm changing my number. I don't want to hear Mom's whining about her arthritis ever again. Recording ends. The audio cut off. The room felt vacuum-sealed. I looked at my parents. For the first time in my life, I saw them look small. My father, usually so imposing, looked like he had been slapped. Linda was pale, her mouth opening and closing soundlessly. That's not real, Linda whispered, her voice shaking. You faked that. It's AI. It's a deep fake. It's a recording from her Alexa device, Riley said calmly. She didn't know it was recording. And here. Riley clicked another file. Here are the texts between her and Derek planning how to spend the money on a trip to Ibiza. Without Greg. Greg stood up slowly. He looked like a zombie. She said I smell like desperation? She called you a walking ATM, Dad, Tessa said, no sympathy in her voice. She never loved you. She was laughing at you the entire time. Greg turned to Linda. You said she loved me. You told me she talked about me all the time. She did. Linda stammered, backing away. She told me she adored you. She played you too, Linda, I said. She called you an annoying attack dog. And she was right. Look at you. You drove here in the middle of the night to scream at your own daughter to protect the woman who plans to block your number as soon as the check clears. My father sank into the sofa, looking suddenly very old. We just wanted to help. No, I said, my voice rising. You wanted to enable. You have spent my entire life telling me to step aside for Valerie. To give her my toys, my clothes, my time, and now my husband and my money. You didn't want justice. You wanted me to pay for her happiness again. Well, the bank is closed. Meredith, my father said, his voice weak. We didn't know. You didn't want to know. I screamed. I told you on the phone. I told you she was stealing. And you called me selfish. You told me to give her a severance package. Do you have any idea how much that hurt? Do you have any idea what it feels like to realize your parents love your abuser more than they love you? They said nothing. There was nothing to say. Greg let out a low moan, a sound of pure misery. I lost everything, he whispered. My job, my wife, my money. And she hates me. He looked at me, his eyes desperate, pleading. Meredith. She tricked me. I was a victim too. I stared at him. The audacity was breathtaking. A victim? I asked. You plan to leave me destitute. You plan to steal from our children. You wrote emails calling me boring and old. You aren't a victim, Greg. You're just a failed accomplice. But we can fix this. Greg stepped toward me, hands out. Now that we know the truth, now that we know she's evil, we can go back. I'll make it up to you. We can go to counseling. I'll get a new job. I looked at this man this week, vain, foolish man. And I felt nothing. The anger was fading, replaced by a profound sense of clarity. Go back? I repeated. Greg, look at me. He looked. I don't love you anymore, I said. It was the truest thing I had ever spoken. I don't even hate you. I just want you gone. You can't mean that, Linda piped up, trying to regain some control. Divorce is a sin, Meredith. You have to forgive. It's get out, I said to Linda. Excuse me. Get out of my house, I pointed to the door. Both of you. Take your golden child's leftovers with you. If you ever set foot on my property again, I will call the police and have you trespassed. You can't treat your parents like this, my father blustered, trying to stand up. Watch me, I said. You chose Valerie. Go be with her. Maybe she'll let you pay her rent since Greg can't do it anymore. I walked to the front door and threw it open. The night air rushed in, cold and clean. Leave, I commanded. My parents looked at me, then at the twins, who were staring them down with crossed arms. They realized they had no power here. Shamefaced and defeated, they shuffled out the door. I slammed it shut behind them. Now, I turned to Greg. It's your turn. Greg stood in the center of the living room, looking like a child who had lost his mother at the grocery store. With Linda and my father gone, his last line of defense had crumbled. Meredith, please, he whimpered. I have nowhere to go. Valerie locked me out. She threw my clothes off the balcony. My truck is almost out of gas. My credit cards are declined. That sounds like a you problem, Tessa said. I live here. Greg shouted, trying to regain some authority. This is my house. You can't just kick me out in the middle of the night. Actually, I walked over to the kitchen counter where I had left the manila envelope Sarah had given me. I can. I pulled out the papers. This, I handed him the first document, is a restraining order. It cites your threats to drain our finances and the emotional distress you've caused the children. A judge signed it an hour ago thanks to Sarah's emergency filing. Greg stared at the paper, his hands trembling. And this, I handed him the second document, is the deed to this house. As you can see, my name is the only one on it. You are a guest. And your invitation has been revoked. And this, I pulled out the third document but didn't hand it to him, is a copy of the evidence regarding your embezzlement of company funds. The receipts, the travel logs, the unauthorized client dinners that were actually dates with Valerie. Greg went pale. What? What are you going to do with that? That depends on you, I said calmly. If you leave right now, quietly, and sign the divorce papers giving me full custody and waiving any claim to the house or my retirement, then maybe I forget to mail this to the district attorney. You're blackmailing me, Greg whispered. I'm negotiating, I said. You like business, right, Greg? This is a business deal. Your freedom for my freedom. He looked at the papers. He looked at the door. He looked at the life he had blown up with a stick of dynamite named Valerie. I can't sign away everything, he said. I'll have nothing. You have your health, Riley chirped. And your protein shakes. Greg, I stepped closer, my voice dropping to a whisper. If you stay, I will ruin you. I will make sure every employer in the state knows you are a thief. I will make sure you go to prison for wire fraud. I will strip you down until you are nothing but a cautionary tale. Or, you can walk out that door, drive away, and start over somewhere else. Your choice. He looked into my eyes. He was searching for the soft, yielding Meredith he had married. The Meredith who forgave him when he forgot anniversaries. The Meredith who picked up his socks. She wasn't there. He slumped. His shoulders collapsed. The fight drained out of him like water from a cracked bucket. Fine, he croaked. Give me a pen. I handed him a pen. He signed the divorce agreement on the kitchen island, his tears spotting the paper. I need my clothes, he said after he finished. I packed a bag, Tessa said, pointing to a suitcase by the door. It's mostly your gym stuff. We donated the rest to Goodwill yesterday. You donated my suits? You don't have a job anymore, Dad, Tessa shrugged. You don't need suits. Greg picked up the suitcase. He looked at the twins. Girls. I love you. You know that, right? Riley didn't look up from her laptop. Bye, Dad. Tessa just stared at him. You loved yourself more. Goodbye. Greg looked at me one last time. I made a mistake, Meredith. No, Greg, I said, opening the door for him. You made a choice. And now you're living with it. He walked out into the darkness. I watched him trudge to his truck. The engine sputtered low on gas, but eventually turned over. He backed out of the driveway and drove away. I closed the door. I locked the deadbolt. I engaged the security chain. I leaned my back against the wood and slid down until I was sitting on the floor. The house was quiet. The toxic parents were gone. The cheating husband was gone. The money was safe. Tessa and Riley came over and sat on the floor with me. We sat there in a pile of exhausted, triumphant women. We did it, Riley whispered. We did it, I said. I pulled them into a hug, burying my face in their hair. I finally let myself cry, but these weren't tears of despair. They were tears of relief. Tears of a survivor. The next few days were a blur of logistics and quiet satisfaction. We changed the locks the next morning. I installed a new security system with cameras that covered every inch of the property. Greg didn't come back. We heard through the grapevine, small towns talk, that he was sleeping in his truck in the Walmart parking lot until he could pawn his watch to afford a motel room. Valerie's life imploded in spectacular fashion. 3 days after the confrontation, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I put it on speaker. Hello. Meredith. It was Valerie. Her voice was unrecognizable, hoarse, broken, stripped of all its usual arrogance. What do you want, Valerie? He took everything, she sobbed. Derek. He waited until I was asleep. He took my jewelry. He took my laptop. He even took the cash I had in my emergency stash. He's gone. I'm shocked, I said dryly. The gigolo you hired turned out to be untrustworthy? Who could have predicted that? I have nothing, Meredith. My rent is due. The landlord is threatening to evict me. You have to help me. Please. Just a loan. I'll pay you back. Like you paid me back for the credit card debt in 2015? I asked. Or the car repair in 2018? No, Valerie. But I'm your sister, she wailed. Dad said you have to help me. Then ask Dad for money, I said. Although I imagine he's a bit tapped out right now. I heard he co-signed on Greg's truck loan. That's going to be awkward when the repo man comes. You can't leave me like this. Valerie screamed. I'm the victim here. Greg lied to me. Derek robbed me. Why is everyone so mean to me? Because you're a bad person, Valerie, I said simply. You tried to destroy my life because you were jealous. You tried to steal from my children. You don't deserve help. You deserve consequences. I hate you, she shrieked. I hope you die alone. I'd rather be alone than be you, I said. I hung up and blocked the number. It felt incredibly cleansing. That afternoon, Sarah came over with the final divorce decree. Since Greg had signed the waiver, the process was expedited. He's legally gone, Sarah said, handing me the document with the judge's stamp. You are a free woman, Meredith. Full custody. Full ownership of the house. And the college fund is in an irrevocable trust that he can never touch. What about the embezzlement? I asked. Sarah smirked. Well, Mr. Henderson decided not to press criminal charges because he didn't want the bad publicity for the company. But he did file a civil suit against Greg for the $12,000 he stole. Greg's wages will be garnished for the next 10 years. Assuming he ever gets a job. He's working at the car wash on Main Street, Tessa said, walking in with a tray of lemonade. My friends saw him there. He's wiping down tires. I felt a twinge of pity, but I squashed it immediately. He had a $100,000 a year job and a loving family. He traded it for a car wash and a motel room. That was his journey, not mine. And Mom and Dad? I asked Sarah. Have they tried to contact you? Your father called my office, Sarah said, rolling her eyes. He threatened to sue me for coercing Greg. I told him if he filed a motion, I would release the audio of Valerie calling him a senile old fool to the court record. He hung up pretty fast. They're isolated, Riley said. Grandma Linda tried to come over yesterday while you were at work. I spoke to her through the Ring camera. I told her if she didn't get off the porch in 10 seconds, the sprinklers would turn on. Did she leave? She left after 5 seconds, Riley grinned. But I turned the sprinklers on anyway, just to be safe. We all laughed. It felt good to laugh. The heavy cloud of gaslighting that had hung over my life for 40 years had finally lifted. I realized that my parents' approval was a currency that had no value. I didn't need it. I had my daughters. I had my self-respect. With the door slammed shut on my toxic parents, the silence in the living room shifted. It wasn't empty. It was heavy, suffocating, focused entirely on the one man left standing in the center of the rug, Greg. He looked at the closed door, then back at me. The bravado he had worn like a cheap suit when he stormed in earlier was gone. He was just a middle-aged man in a torn shirt, realizing he was trapped in a room with 3 women who knew exactly who he was. Meredith, he started, his voice cracking. They left me. They chose the winning side, Greg, I said, walking slowly back to the kitchen island. Or at least, the side they think has the moral high ground. But you? You don't have a side anymore. I live here, he whispered, but it sounded less like a statement and more like a question he was afraid to ask. This is my home. You can't just kick me out because of a fight. A fight? I repeated, leaning my hands on the granite countertop, the granite I paid for. You think this is a fight? Greg, a fight is when we argue about who takes out the trash. This? This is an execution. I nodded to Tessa. She reached into her backpack and pulled out the thick manila envelope we had prepared with Sarah. She slid it across the island. It stopped right in front of Greg's shaking hands. Open it, I commanded. He hesitated, then opened the clasp. He pulled out the first document. It was thick, stapled, and stamped with the seal of the county court. What is this? He asked, squinting at the legal jargon. It's an emergency motion for exclusive possession of the marital residence, I said, reciting the words Sarah had taught me, coupled with a temporary restraining order based on financial abuse and dissipation of marital assets. A judge signed it digitally an hour ago. Greg's face went gray. Restraining order? But I didn't hit you. Abuse isn't just bruises, Greg, Riley piped up from the couch. Draining your children's future to fund a runaway life with their aunt? That's abuse. The judge agreed. It's effective immediately. You are legally required to vacate the premises and stay 500 feet away from us and our bank accounts. But I have nowhere to go. Greg's voice rose to a panic. Valerie locked me out. My truck is almost out of gas. I have $12 in my pocket. That sounds like a problem for the new, exciting Greg, I said coldly. The old, boring Greg had a house. The new Greg has freedom. Enjoy it. You can't do this, he snarled, a flash of his old anger returning. I'll fight you. I'll get a lawyer. I'll claim half the house. We've been married 20 years. This is community property. I smiled. It was a smile that didn't reach my eyes. I was hoping you'd say that. Turn the page, Tessa said. Greg flipped the page. He stared at the next document. It was a copy of the original deed to the house. Read the highlighted section, I said. Greg read it, his lips moving silently. Property conveyed to Meredith Thompson as sole, and separate property via inheritance, never commingled. My mother left this house to me, I said softly. Not us. Me. And, because I listened to my father ironically, the one time he gave me good advice, I never put your name on the title. I paid every property tax bill from my inheritance trust. You have zero equity in this roof, Greg. Zero. He dropped the paper. He looked like he was going to be sick. But wait, I said. There's more. The best part is at the bottom of the stack. Greg dug into the envelope again. He pulled out a stack of printed screenshots and spreadsheets. What is this? That, Riley said, is your spreadsheet. Well, the one I made for you. It details every single unauthorized transaction you made on your company credit card over the last 8 months. The jewelry for Valerie. The hotel rooms. The client dinners that were actually dates at Chez Pierre. Greg's knees buckled. He grabbed the edge of the counter to hold himself up. You have these? Mr. Henderson has them too, I lied smoothly. Or, he will have them tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Tessa is scheduled to drop them off. No, Greg gasped. No, Meredith, please. If Henderson sees this, it's not just firing. It's prosecution. It's jail time. Wire fraud. Embezzlement. Exactly, I said. Prison isn't like Florida, Greg. The views are worse. He looked at me, tears streaming down his face. Why are you doing this? I made a mistake. I was weak. Valerie, she got inside my head. Stop blaming the woman. I slammed my hand on the counter, making him jump. Yes, she's a snake. But you let her in. You opened the door. You looked at our daughters, at their future, and you decided a condo in Tampa was worth more than them. You don't get to play the victim. I pushed a pen across the counter. Here's the deal, I said. The boring wife is making you a one-time offer. You sign the divorce papers right now. Uncontested. You waive your right to my retirement. You grant full custody of the girls, not that they want to see you anyway. You agree to leave tonight and never come back. And if I do, he whispered. If you do, I pointed to the evidence of embezzlement. I shred this. Mr. Henderson fires you for incompetence, not theft. You don't go to jail. You just go away. Greg looked at the pen. He looked at the evidence that could put him behind bars. He looked at the family he had destroyed. He realized, finally, that he was checkmated. I have to sign, he choked out. Yes, I said. You do. While Greg was scribbling his name on the divorce papers, his hand shaking so badly the signature looked like a seismograph of an earthquake, my phone rang. I glanced at the screen. No caller ID. But I knew who it was. The timing was too perfect. Put it on speaker, Riley whispered. I tapped the button. Hello. Meredith. The voice was high-pitched, frantic, and unmistakably Valerie. But gone was the smug, purring tone she used to use. She sounded like a cornered animal. Valerie, I said. To what do I owe the pleasure? Are you calling to ask for another dress of mine? He stole it, she screamed. Derek. He took everything. Greg stopped signing. He looked up, his eyes wide. He was listening to the woman he had ruined his life for. Slow down, I said, winking at the girls. Who took what? Derek. Valerie sobbed. After the live stream, after Greg left, we got into a fight. I went into the bathroom to wash my face. When I came out, he was gone. My jewelry box is empty. My laptop is gone. He even took the cash I had hidden in the freezer. And my car. Meredith, my car's gone. Let me guess, Riley whispered loudly enough for the phone to pick up. The spare key was in the drawer? He took my car. Valerie wailed, ignoring Riley. Meredith, you have to help me. I have no money. I can't pay rent. The landlord is already threatening eviction because of the noise from the fight earlier. I have nowhere to go. Call Greg, I said, watching my husband's face twist in pain. He's got a lot of free time now. Greg. Valerie spat the name like it was poison. That loser? He's broke. He has nothing. You took the money back. What good is he to me now? Greg flinched as if he had been slapped physically. He stared at the phone, the pen hovering over the paper. This was the moment. The final nail in the coffin of his delusion. He loved you, Valerie, I said, my voice calm. He left his family for you. He's an old fool, she shrieked. I never wanted him. I wanted the money. And now because of you, I have nothing. You selfish B*TCH. You have a house. You have a job. You could send me $5,000 right now and not even miss it. We are sisters. Stepsisters, I corrected. And actually, I think we're done with titles. Dad says you have to help me. She played her trump card. He's furious at you, Meredith. He says if you don't help me, he's writing you out of the will. I laughed. It was a genuine laugh this time. The will? Dad has a reverse mortgage and a gambling problem, Valerie. There is no will. There is only debt. And guess what? It's all yours now. What do you mean? I mean I'm cutting them off too, I said. I'm done being the bank. I'm done being the fixer. You, Linda, and Dad, you deserve each other. Maybe you can all move into a one-bedroom apartment and talk about how unfair life is. You can't do this. Valerie screamed. I'll sue you. I'll tell everyone you hacked me. Go ahead, I said. Tell them. Tell them how you seduced your sister's husband and planned to steal from your nieces. I'm sure the court of public opinion will love that. Meredith, please. Her voice broke, shifting from anger to begging. I'm scared. I'm alone. You're not alone, I said. You have your consequences. They'll keep you company. I hung up. I looked at Greg. He was staring at the phone, his face pale and wet with tears. She called me a loser, he whispered. She called you worse than that, I said. But now you know. It wasn't love, Greg. It was a transaction. And the check bounced. Greg looked down at the divorce papers. He didn't hesitate anymore. He signed the last page with a firm, angry stroke. There, he pushed the papers across the island. I signed. I waved everything. Good, I took the papers and handed them to Tessa, who placed them safely in her bag. Can I? Greg hesitated. Can I ask you something? Make it quick. Did you ever love me? Or was I just boring to you too? I looked at him. I remembered the man I married. The man who taught the girls to ride bikes. The man who used to hold my hand in movies. I loved you for 20 years, Greg, I said, feeling a lump in my throat. I loved you enough to save every penny so we could have a good life. I loved you enough to ignore your flaws. But you didn't find me boring. You found me safe. And you decided you didn't want safety anymore. You wanted danger. I pointed to the door. You got it. The physical act of a marriage ending is surprisingly quiet. There were no more screams. No more breaking glass. Just the sound of a zipper. Tessa had packed a suitcase for him. It was sitting by the front door, a black carry-on that we used to take on family vacations to Disney World. Now it held his gym clothes, his toiletries, and the few shirts he hadn't taken to Valerie's. Greg walked to the door. He looked small. The bravado of the new Greg had evaporated, leaving behind a man who looked older than his 48 years. He put his hand on the doorknob, then stopped. He turned around to look at the living room one last time. He looked at the family photos on the mantel, photos he wasn't in anymore, metaphorically speaking. He looked at the twins. Girls, he croaked. I'm going. Riley didn't look up from her laptop. She was typing, probably ensuring the firewall on our bank account was impenetrable. Bye. Tessa looked at him. Her gaze was steady, unblinking. Don't forget to cancel your gym membership, Dad. You won't be able to afford it. It was cruel, but it was fair. Greg flinched. He looked at me. Meredith. Goodbye, Greg, I said. I didn't move toward him. I didn't offer a hug. I stood with my arms crossed, a physical barrier between him and the life he had forfeited. Will you tell me if you hear anything about? He trailed off. About Valerie. I raised an eyebrow. After what you just heard. No, Greg. I won't. You're on your own. He nodded slowly. He opened the door. The night air swirled in, bringing the smell of impending rain. He walked out. I didn't close the door immediately. I watched. I needed to see it. I needed to imprint this moment on my retina so that if I ever felt weak, ever felt lonely, I could remember this. He walked to his truck. He opened the door and climbed in. The interior light flickered on, illuminating the empty passenger seat where Valerie had sat in that dashcam video. He sat there for a moment, hands on the steering wheel, head bowed. Then, he turned the key. The engine sputtered low gas, per maintenance, but it caught. He backed out of the driveway, his headlights sweeping across the lawn one last time. He drove away. He didn't look back. I watched his taillights disappear around the corner of Elm Street. Gone. I closed the door. I turned the deadbolt. Click. I engaged the privacy lock. Click. I set the alarm system. Beep. I turned around. The house felt different. For weeks, the air had been thick with his lies, his secrets, his silent judgments. Now, the air was clear. It was empty, but it was clean. I let out a breath I felt like I had been holding for 8 months. My knees felt weak, and I slumped against the door. Mom? Tessa was there instantly, holding my arm. Are you okay? I'm okay, I said, and I realized I meant it. I'm just tired. You should be, Riley said, coming over to join us. You just exorcised 3 demons in one night. That's a lot of cardio. I laughed, a weak, watery sound. I pulled my daughters into a hug. We stood there in the entryway, a tangle of arms and relief. We did it, I whispered into their hair. We actually did it. We saved the money, Riley said. We saved ourselves, Tessa corrected. What do we do now? Riley asked, looking up at me. I looked at the clock. It was 11:30 p.m. Now, I said, wiping my eyes. Now, we eat ice cream. And then, we changed the Netflix password. They say the best revenge is living well. I disagree. The best revenge is living free while your enemies eat the dust they tried to make you swallow. The next 6 months were a masterclass in cleanup and rebirth. First, the legalities. With Greg's signature on the uncontested divorce papers, the process flew through the courts. Sarah was brilliant. She filed everything before Greg could change his mind or find a lawyer who would work for free, which, given his credit score, was impossible. The divorce was finalized in 3 months. I got everything I asked for. The house. Full custody. Since the girls were 17, the judge let them choose, and they chose to never see him. The retirement accounts. And, crucially, the college fund remained untouched in the trust. Greg's fate was pathetic. Without a reference from Mr. Henderson, Greg couldn't find a job in logistics. Word travels fast in this industry, and embezzlement is a scarlet letter. He ended up working 2 part-time jobs, stocking shelves at a grocery store on the night shift and washing cars on weekends. I saw him once, about 4 months in. I was at the grocery store. He was stocking cereal boxes. He looked gray. His gym bod had deflated. He saw me, and for a second, our eyes locked. He looked like he wanted to speak, to beg, maybe to apologize. I didn't give him the chance. I turned my cart down the pasta aisle and kept walking. As for Valerie and the parents, that was a tragedy written by Shakespeare, if Shakespeare wrote for reality TV. Valerie had to move back in with my father and Linda. It was a disaster. Without Greg's money or Derek's youth, Valerie spiraled. She refused to get a job. She spent her days screaming at Linda for not buying the right organic food. My aunt told me that the police had been called to their house 3 times for domestic disturbances. Apparently, Valerie threw a vase at my father when he told her she couldn't use his credit card for Botox. They were trapped together. My parents, who had enabled her selfishness for 30 years, were now living in the hell they had created. They tried to call me a few times. Voicemails claiming they were sick, worried, or just wanted to see the girls. I never called back. I had blocked their numbers, but the voicemails went to a blocked folder I checked once a month just to make sure they weren't dead. Let them rot, Riley said when I played one of the messages. They made their choice. But while they were rotting, we were blooming. The atmosphere in our house transformed. We painted over the beige walls Greg insisted on. We painted the living room a soft sage green. We bought a new armchair. We played music loud. Tessa got her acceptance letter to Stanford in March. We screamed so loud the neighbors called to check on us. Riley got into MIT a week later with a full scholarship. I realized something during those months. I hadn't just been supporting Greg financially, I had been carrying his emotional weight too. His insecurities, his need for validation, his midlife crisis, it was all heavy luggage I had been dragging around. Without it, I felt 20 pounds lighter. I started taking care of myself. I joined a hiking group. I reconnected with old friends I had drifted away from because Greg didn't like them. One Saturday, I was having coffee with Sarah. "You look different," she said, eyeing me over her latte. "I feel different," I said. "I feel awake." So, Sarah grinned. "Are you ready to date?" "God, no," I laughed. "I'm enjoying the silence. I'm enjoying not having to wonder who my husband is texting." "Fair enough," she said. "But just so you know, my brother, David, the architect, he's divorced. He's nice. And he hates theft." I rolled my eyes, but I felt a blush rise in my cheeks. "Maybe in a year." "I'll tell him to wait," Sarah winked. Life wasn't perfect. There were lonely nights. There were times I missed having a partner. But then I would look at the security camera footage of my peaceful front porch, or check my bank account balance that was actually growing, and I would remember, peace is better than company. It's been exactly 1 year since the dashcam video changed my life. I am sitting on the patio of a small cafe in Florence, Italy. The sun is warm, smelling of espresso and ancient stone. Across from me, Tessa and Riley are arguing about which gelato flavor is superior, pistachio versus stracciatella. They're 18 now. They look like women. Strong, confident, slightly terrifying women. This trip was supposed to be Greg's retirement dream with Valerie. He talked about Italy constantly. He wanted to buy a villa here with the stolen money. Instead, I took the trip. I took the girls. We used the dividends from the investments I made after securing the funds. Greg is back in Ohio. The last I heard, he was living in a studio apartment above a garage, trying to date women online who don't know his history. But in a small town, everyone knows. Valerie is still with my parents. My cousin told me that Linda had a mild stroke from the stress of dealing with her. I felt a pang of sadness, but I stayed away. I sent flowers to the hospital with a card that said "Get well," but I didn't visit. I couldn't. I had built a wall of peace, and I wasn't going to pull out a brick for people who brought sledgehammers. "Mom," Tessa kicks me under the table gently. "Stop staring into space. You're doing the reflective movie heroine face again." I laugh. "I'm just thinking." "About Dad?" Riley asks, her eyes sharp. "No," I say honestly. "I was thinking about the password." The password. Valerie Forever 69. I shake my head. If he had just picked a better password, we might be destitute right now. "Nope," Riley grins, scooping her gelato. "I would have cracked it anyway. I'm inevitable." She is, Tessa agrees. "So, Mom, are you going to call David when we get back?" I smile. David. The architect. We went on 3 dates before I left for Italy. He's kind. He listens. He doesn't dye his hair. Maybe, I say. He did say he wanted to see pictures. "He wants to see you," Tessa says. "He looks at you like you're magic." "I am magic," I say, lifting my espresso cup. "We all are." I look at my daughters. They saved me. But I saved them too. I stood up. I fought back. I broke the cycle of generational trauma that demanded women be silent martyrs. The waiter brings the check. I reach for my wallet. It's a new wallet, bought with my own money, filled with cards that only I have access to. I pay the bill. I leave a generous tip. Andiamo, I say to my girls. Let's go find some leather bags. I need to replace the one Valerie stole. We walk out into the Italian sunlight, arm in arm. Three women who went through the fire and came out made of gold. If you are listening to this story, and you are sitting in a kitchen somewhere, feeling that pit in your stomach, wondering if you're crazy, wondering if you should check the phone or the bank account, do it. Don't be afraid of the truth. The truth hurts, but lies kill. And if you find out your world is burning, don't panic. Grab the marshmallows. Because once the fire burns out, the ground is fertile for something new. I'm Meredith Thompson. I'm 47. I'm single. I'm rich. And I'm finally truly free. Thank you for listening to my story. It's been a wild ride, and sharing it with you has been therapy in itself. If you enjoyed watching justice be served cold and with a side of Italian gelato, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. And tell me in the comments, what is the pettiest thing you've ever done to an ex? I want to hear your stories. Until next time, stay strong and keep your passwords complicated.